radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. All right. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, how you doing? How you doing? Today is Wednesday, June 23rd, Christmas Eve, 2021. 175 days into the new year, only 190 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of nowhere. A total undisclosed location. But it is beautiful. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planets. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? You know what it is? It's UAPTF Eve. Yeah, man, we're getting close. Is it tomorrow? Is it tomorrow? Holy crap. Well, in anticipation of the events that are about to go down in the next 48 hours, tonight, very special guest Richard Dolan joins us. That's right. This is going to be a full UAPTF preview special event. And that's going down. Richard will be with us at the bottom of the hour. Looking forward to that. Always love it when Richard is here, and so do you. Tomorrow night, it's Fader Night with open lines all night long. It's your calls, your conversation. UFOs, conspiracy, time travel. I'm going to tell you right now, if the UAP Task Force report busts out tomorrow, I'm going live on the air. I'm going live the second that thing drops. If it drops tomorrow, I don't care. 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm live. I'm going live. And then we'll do the show tomorrow night. I'm just saying. And if it's Friday, Friday, I'm on a plane. So that's it. I'll be at the airport, live streaming at the airport. Yeah. I was... Grant Cameron and his crew, Nicole, reached out to me today. Jimmy, can you come on with us Friday night? We're going to do this big thing. I said, absolutely. I'm there with you guys. And, they sent me the links and everything to go and do that. I was sitting here. I was like, wait a minute. I'm going to be on a plane Friday, flying back to Indy. And so I had to, I'm sorry, guy, I can't. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll be able to live stream with them from the airport in my little layover. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, here we are. It is the 23rd. Tomorrow's the 24th. Let's see how things shake out. Maybe the 25th. We don't know. I've been monitoring the news all day today to see if there was anything announced, anything sneaked in, and there's nothing, man. It is silent. I need to hit this coffee again out of this Fade to Black mug. Man, it tastes so good. tastes better because it's in that mug. I was today. You know what? I'm in a great mood. Lots of things went down today, and we'll get to all of that in just a bit. But I'm flying back to Indy for my father's memorial, which is happening on Sunday. And I was speaking to some friends today that I haven't spoken to. My drummer from high school, Jerry Reeskamp, my singer from high school, Jimmy Brune, spoke to those guys, two of the most talented musicians. And I'm going to hopefully see Jimmy. I'm definitely going to see Jerry. But Jerry and I were talking today. Such a great drummer. And it was just so fun. We should have kept the band together, man. And we should have. The talent that was in that band. Thinking about where everybody is at today. Man, if we kept that band together. Man, we should reunite. We should get that band together. That was a good band. All right. We were called Anthem. Yep. And we did all that cool stuff. And Jerry reminded me today. I've got lots of stuff to talk about tonight, but it was so cool talking to Jerry. And he goes, man, you know what? One of my favorite musical moments, because he's a gigging drummer today. He's still playing drums out there getting it done. But he goes, man, was when we played the gymnasium in high school. And I'm here to tell you, there is nothing cooler than setting up as a band in high school and playing in the gymnasium. Packed, right? Packed. 10 o'clock in the morning. And but he said it, and I remember it like it was yesterday. He goes, and we opened with Symptom of the Universe by Black Sabbath. I go, dude, I think about that all the time. And how cool that was, playing at your high school. All right. So anyway, I'm going to get to see Jerry this weekend. Hopefully see Jimmy Brune too. Jimmy's on grandparents' duty. And but if he can break away from that, I'll be able to see Jimmy too as well. All right. So back to why Friday is, I'm going to be on a plane going back to Indy. I can't hang out with Grant Cameron. Is Friday going to be the day? Is this stuff going to break while I'm in the air? Is it going to break while I'm on the ground? I don't know. But I'm pretty excited. And Richard Dolan is here tonight to cover all of it. All right. Now, this July 17th is the date for our Forbidden Disclosure online conference with Richard Dolan, Linda Moulton Howe, Lue Elizondo, Nick Pope, Billy, Carson, and myself. It is an 11-hour all-day live event. We're going to be presenting 2-hour chunks with everybody. My 2-hour chunk will be spent with Lue Elizondo, and Lue and I are going to sit and have a conversation. And then at the end of the night, all of us are going to get together and sit down for a round table with all of you. So the tickets are available right now. You can click on the link below in the video description box. Get over there, get your tickets. 11-hour event. And certainly with everything that's about to go down in the next couple of days, a few weeks from now, being able to do this event and digesting where the world is at with the best of the best is making up to be a very extraordinary event. So the tickets, just click on the link right there. It's right below you. You can go over to jimmychurchradio.com. We've got a banner there. You can click on that. I was talking to Richard earlier. Saw the banner, man. Saw the banner over on the website. Looks pretty good. I say, yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. So click and get your tickets now. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Yeah, Jimmy on Friday. Julie of York. I'm going to tell you, Julie, you are so cool. And yes, that is me on Friday. And if you want to see what Julie just posted, head over to hashtag F2B right there on Twitter. And you can check that out. But that's pretty close. At JChurchRadio on Twitter. Let's get to the breaking news. Lots to cover today. It happened. U.S. technology entrepreneur John McAfee hanged himself in prison. And he was found earlier today after the Spanish High Court authorized his extradition to the United States. McAfee was a pioneer of antivirus software. We all know that. I've got McAfee running there. And he was indicted in Tennessee on tax evasion charges. He was also charged in a cryptocurrency fraud case in New York. Spain's High Court agreed to extradite McAfee to the United States. A court document was released stating that today the Provincial Justice Department confirmed that a U.S. man at the age of 75 was found dead in his cell today. Jailed in Barcelona for about 9 months, McAfee still had opportunities to appeal his conviction, but could not stand more time in jail. And all of this is according to his lawyer, Javier Villalba. Now, last night in Southern California, about 40 cows broke free from a slaughterhouse where a gate was accidentally left open, and they stampeded through Pico Rivera in California. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department reported at about 8:35 p.m. that the cows were loose in the area of Beverly Road and Durfee Avenue. Residents were advised to avoid the area located about a mile from the slaughterhouse. And I've seen the videos. It's crazy, man. They were free. They were running, and it was pretty cool. And personally, I think they've earned their freedom. They should be sent to like the plains of Texas to roam free forever. That's all. So they found 39. One is still running around somewhere. All right, the ESA, the European Space Agency, says that it is thrilled by the number of people who have applied to join its astronaut program. A total of 22,589 individuals filled out the online form, 2.5 times the interest level when the ESA last ran a competitive process back in 2008. There was also a sizable jump in women wanting to go into orbit. 5,419 applications from women this time compared to only 1,287 last time. ESA says it will give contracts to between 4 and 6 individuals to join its astronaut corps on a full-time basis, but it plans also to recruit a reserve up to 20 people who will be held on standby in case other opportunities emerge. Pretty cool. Now, let's see. Tide, the detergent. Tide. Hold on for a second. Hold on. I got it. This is Dolan. Oh, man. I got to reply to Dolan. I just have to. Tide, the detergent, the Procter & Gamble laundry brand, has partnered with NASA. That's right. All of this to explore how to clean astronauts' clothes aboard the International Space Station, as well as future crewed missions to the Moon and Mars. Under the terms of the new Space Act agreement, NASA will study Tide's cleaning solutions. I'm not making any of this up, by the way. While the company works to bring the lessons from its off-planet tests to a line of everyday consumer products for use here on Earth. Now, wait a minute. How were they cleaning their clothes before? Right? I'm just asking for a friend. What's been going on at the ISS? They weren't washing their clothes? All right. Also announced today, Warren Buffett has resigned from his trustee position at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the 90-year-old investor announced today. In a statement, Buffett didn't specify why he's leaving the foundation, but noted that he already resigned from all corporate boards other than Berkshire Hathaway's. The question is, who's going to replace Warren there? There's a lot of rumors. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Glenn Danzig is 76. Unbelievable. Warren guitarist Joey Allen, my old friend, man, I've known that guy forever. Joey Allen today is 57 years old. Dolan's got it coming to him here in a few minutes. Our dead guy's birthday today is Stuart Sutcliffe. 1940 to 1962, died at the age of 21. Stewart, of course, was the original bassist of the Beatles. Stewart left the band to pursue his career as a painter, having previously attended the Liverpool College of Art. He and John Lennon are credited with inventing the name The Beatles, as they both like Buddy Holly's band, The Crickets. After collapsing on April 10th, 1962, he was taken to the hospital, but died in the ambulance on the way there. The cause of death was a brain hemorrhage. He was just 21 years old. Happy birthday, Stewart. On this day in history, 1992, John Gotti, the Teflon Don, is sentenced to multiple life terms without the possibility of parole. While in prison, Teflon died of throat cancer on June 10th, 2002. Fader fact. Ham. In 1961, Ham, the chimp, was launched on a rocket from Cape Canaveral and was the first hominin in space. He survived his ocean splashdown and lived 20 more years at a zoo in Washington, D.C. And that, I didn't know that. That's a good one. That's a good Fader fact right there. All right. Tonight, very special guest, Richard Dolan, is here. He wants to come in early. I'm like, no, man, you got to wait. You got to wait, Richard. Wait your turn. All right? All right. But Richard Dolan is with us at the bottom of the hour. Tonight's a very big night. We are doing a UAP Task Force preview. And what can we expect? What do we know about this report right now? So we're going to do all of that tonight. And tomorrow night is Fader night with open lines all night long. We'll see. It might break tomorrow. Let me hit this. Man, you like this mug? You like that? You like that? You like that? You like that? Yeah, River Moon Coffee. rivermoonwellness.com. That's all you got to do. Links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Head to the Amazon store. Go to the website. Fade to Black Blend. All of our Black Moon products are there too as well. CBD infused products are all right there. Go and check it out. Game Changer Blend. Fade to Black Blend. Yeah, it's the best coffee in the world. It truly is. All right. What a day. What a day. Social media. Social media is a trippy place to hang out. And it's maddening. It's fun. It's angry. It's melancholy. And it's all of those things at the same time. When I'm out in the real world, conversing with friends, someone will always say something like, I've got 1,324 followers on Twitter, right? Somebody else, something like, I've got 379 followers on Twitter. And it's amazing to me because the numbers are always very specific. That's right. Because, well, they know, right? They're obviously checking a lot. Like in, all day long. Oh, I got one more. Oh, man, I'm one less. And yeah, I know I'm mentioning Twitter, but, it's the same all around, Instagram, whatever. But I just don't follow this stuff. And, I mean, yeah, once in a while I'll notice it, and I kind of glance at it, but I don't pay attention. If somebody asks me, and they do, I don't have an answer. And I'm not embarrassed by it. I just don't know. I don't follow it. Today, a media company asked me about my numbers. And, they needed some influencer information, right? Okay. It was, again, for me, it's kind of funny because I just don't know. And I'm not about to go through all of my social media and tally up the numbers. I didn't want to do it, and I didn't. And so, just for me to answer their question, how many followers do you have on social media? Well, man, I don't know. Go and check for yourself, man. It's there. Go and add it up, right? Okay, well, you see, social media is like this for me. This is what I do. Something pops in my head, right? Somebody sends me a pic, and I post it and move on. That's it. There's nothing more. I don't post shocking stuff. I'm not, I'm not here to stir the pot or get into fights or red pill. I don't do any of that stuff. And you guys know that, right? You know that. We post next week's shows, and that happens once a week. And that's pretty much it. I have other things to do all day long, like, get my thoughts together for what I'm saying right now. It's another thing that I have to do, seriously. There is no magic formula going on. And then, of course, I'll post a breaking news story. And this happens a couple of times per week when something for me personally affects me, and that's the breaking news story, right? And I'll get to that. Like today, John McAfee died by hanging, right? Today in his prison cell in Spain. Huge story for sure, especially for me, because I've followed John since the early days of his company. Honestly, although I've never met the guy, I really had mad respect for him. He talked like I wanted to talk. I'm being serious. He looked the part. He's like a man's man for sure. And he truly lived life on his terms. Those documentaries, I really enjoyed them. I mean, the man did it his way. He was a bona fide rebel on every level. So today I jumped over to his Twitter page, and I spent the better part of an hour reading all of his posts in order during his last months in a Spanish prison. Crazy read. And I would recommend it to everyone, especially knowing that he died today in that prison cell. Anyway, I came across this, written last year. Okay? Quote, I have 1 million Twitter followers. Probably only 1% will read this and not care. Stop me in my tracks, man. Stop me right in my tracks. And I thought to myself, he absolutely knows what it's like to lose everything. Like everything, because the man had it all at once. Even his closest friends, right? They're now all gone. Think about that. John McAfee. You've got McAfee installed right now on your computer. That John McAfee. Tweeting from prison. It messed with me. I have 1 million Twitter followers. Probably only 1% will read this and not care. Holy crap, right? Last month, he wrote this. On May 23rd, he died today, right? And so this is 3 weeks ago. May 23rd, 2021. He wrote, I once had everything. After uncountable lawsuits and the reach of the feds, I now have nothing. But inside these prison bars, I have never felt more free. The things you believe you own, in reality, own you. Holy crap. And then less than 2 weeks before his death, today, he wrote this on June 10th. Today is June 23rd. This is less than 2 weeks ago. June 10th, 2021. Quote, there is much sorrow in prison, disguised as hostility. The sorrow is plainly visible even in the most angry faces. I'm old and content with food and a bed. But for the young person is a whore. A horror. A reflection of the minds of those who conceived them. End quote. Holy crap. Holy crap. He had nobody to talk to, nobody to reach out to, nothing. This is his mind on Twitter for the world to see. 1 million followers. How many people are reading this? 1 million followers. Probably nobody. And nobody cared. Now, remember your social media numbers. Go ahead. But more importantly, remember who your true friends are in that world. Because one day they may be all that you have left. And the only way to talk to them will be through your Twitter account. And you, just like John, may be left wondering who is actually reading it. And do they really care? So pick up the phone. Go out to dinner. Have a party. Whatever. But check in with your real friends once in a while. Think about that. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Richard Dolan is here. This is a very special night here on the show. We are doing the UAPTF preview special event. All of that with Richard. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. Open lines all night long right here on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Richard at Rich Dolan right there on Twitter if you don't follow him already. And I'll be right back after this short break with Richard Bleepin' Dolan. Stay with me.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. GetTheT.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. GetTheT.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years, and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's GetTheT.com. GetTheT.com. The tea that makes you go.
Fate or not, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Richard Dolan joins us on the eve, the purported eve, of the UAP Task Force report that is due for delivery tomorrow on June 24, 2021. Maybe Friday, we don't know. Tonight's show is on the 23rd. We're going to do a full preview tonight of what is expected, what we could see, what we would like to see, as well as a full analysis of Lue Elizondo's comments on Fade to Black last week on Thursday the 17th. Richard, of course, is one of the world's leading researchers and writers on the subject of UFOs, and he completed his graduate work at the University of Rochester, studied U.S. Cold War strategy, European history, and baseball. More on that in just a bit. He is the author of UFOs of the National Security State. He co-authored with Bryce Abel, AD After Disclosure, and, of course, his latest book, The Alien Agendas. Richard, host of a weekly radio show, The Richard Dolan Show, on KGRA. Is currently featured on several television shows. I've done a series or two with Richard myself. And you know what? Richard, by the way, website, richarddolanmembers.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Richard, I am going to welcome back, my friend.
Hi, Jimmy. Thank you.
Okay.
Always a pleasure with you.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Richard, I am going to, I don't know if you know this, but there is a film, we can't say the name, but the announcement is coming shortly, and the trailer for this film is ready, and I think next week the announcement's going to be made. I'm narrating this film, and you're the star of it.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy talk.
Yeah, I know, right?
Crazy talk.
I mean, how cool is it? I mean, I am just so, I'm so honored, to see the film and to see everybody that, I can't say any more than that right now.
Do I know what this, I don't think I know what this film is.
Yeah.
I don't think I know what you were talking about.
Yeah, man, that's because you're Richard Bleepin' Dolan. Yeah.
If I'm in it, I hope it's pretty good anyway.
You did well, my friend. But yeah, once again, we're doing another project together, and I really dig it. And this is a barn burner. This is a good one. I'm really proud of it. Now,
hoping to find out what it is at some point.
Here, hold on. I'm going to text you right now.
On the air. We're live here.
No,
The people listening, they can't read the text. And I'm not allowed to read the text, apparently.
Oh, man. Okay. Now you know what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
that whole thing.
Yeah.
Good people.
Yeah. Exactly. So the trailer's great, and it's pretty cool. Okay, so that announcement will come next week. Richard didn't even know. So, okay. Normally at this point of the program, Richard, I ask you about what you listened to earlier today, but I'm going to stop you right there about the music.
Who cares about that?
Okay, because fun fact, Richard Dolan says that he probably knows more about baseball than anybody listening to this program right now.
No, I did not say that. That's total BS. I did not say
How?
that.
I mean, you
but
know.
I did growing up. I did know probably way more baseball statistics and things like that than than I know UFO stuff right now.
That's insane, you know. And so Richard and I earlier this week, this is revealed to me, and we were supposed to be talking about important stuff, and we went off on baseball for about an hour.
We did,
yeah. And I was now. Look, we know that.
And I told you about my true baseball love.
Yes. Now we're going to get to that. We're going to do this now. I mean, we know that you're a hip hop fan and you love NWA, right? That big reveal happened once on this show. Yeah, exactly. But this baseball thing stopped me dead in my tracks, and it was like, who knew? Have you ever discussed this before?
I don't know, maybe, probably.
Really?
But I was for many years a true baseball fanatic, like every kid in America growing up. We did, I would fantasize about winning the World Series with a grand slam home run in the bottom of the ninth. Then I'd run around my backyard. Dolan, it's the grand slam. He did it, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I did all of that stuff, but I played baseball all the time.
And you were in, some people go out and do Civil War reenactments, right? And you did the baseball version of that for a number of years.
For about 10 years, while I was a UFO author. You know, I was known in the UFO field, but I don't remember the exact years. From maybe the late 90s till about 2007, 2008, I played vintage baseball. And that's a major thing. Here in Rochester, we have something known as the Genesee Country Museum. It's a beautiful, beautiful historical recreation of a 19th century village in America, and they did it absolutely perfectly. And at one point in the 90s, they decided, hey, you know what? Let's set up a vintage baseball league. And shortly after that started, I joined. And we had 4 teams that were exhibition teams. So every weekend, there would be one game on Saturday, one game on Sunday. So 2 teams, you'd have, 4 teams. And we did that. But we also hosted regional tournaments because we had absolutely the best baseball field in probably the whole eastern U.S. For vintage baseball, a true field of dreams. It's gorgeous.
Right.
So we would have teams coming from different parts of Canada, from Boston, from Virginia, like the eastern half of North America. And we would do that, and but we would play our league during the spring through the summer and fall, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. And we play by 1850s rules,
historically accurate. I'm picturing the uniforms and everything. You can't violate, right? Everything is going to be the balls, the bats.
They absolutely made a very genuine effort to have things as authentic as possible, like the balls. So baseball back in those days, they didn't have machines winding them; they were all hand wound, so they weren't nearly as hard. So when you hit a ball that was made in the 19th century, it's not going to go. You're not going to hit a 400-foot home run.
Right.
It's not going to happen. And with the bats were totally different as well. They were much more club-like. Modern bats have what they're called a whip handle bat. They're very thin, and you can whip them around fast and get some bat speed. Not so with 19th century bats. So it's a different kind of a game, but it's an exciting game. It was a lot of fun. Pitching was underhand, which is how we get softball. Because the original form of pitching baseball, it was a gentleman's sport. And if you're the pitcher or the hurler, it would be very unsportsmanlike for you actually to try to make it difficult for the batter to hit the ball.
Oh, so you weren't like throwing fastball strikes and curveballs.
Well,
you were allowing somebody to have the opportunity to put some wood on the ball.
Yes and no, because even by the in 1867, the curveball was invented. A guy named Candy Cummings invented the curveball, and people were like, "That's impossible. You can't make a ball curve." Well, he did, but even before then, the game was becoming very competitive, more and more, because you'd have the fanatics known as fans would come out and they'd want their team to win. So pitchers, there were rules against pitching overhand with a lot of speed, but pitchers started to learn to like flick the wrist a little more, maybe flick the elbow, get some speed in there, and try to do ways to deceive the batter. And so that was the game that we were playing. So yes, I did a lot of pitching actually, so I can speak to this. And so you'd want to lay the ball in there, but you're also trying to get the guy out, or at least not let him hit the ball well. Now, when you're in that kind of pitching, even if I were to throw overhand, I'm not throwing it 90 miles per hour or even 70 at this point in my life. But with underhand pitching, there are little things that you learn to do, like ways to spin the ball. And I would try to do different things. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So you were a pitcher?
I played every position. I did a lot of pitching, played a lot of center field and third base.
And how was your swing?
Oh, good. I that's one thing I can do. I can hit a baseball.
Man, you're okay. All right, so
I can hit a baseball, and I can on a good day. I mean, I'm 50. I'm going to be 59 like next week, so I can't run that fast. I now know what it's like when you run to feel like you're going through 3 feet of water, because we had old guys in our teams that were like that.
Right.
Back in those days, I was still in my 40s, and I could still dig in and run. And I haven't played that game in over a decade, so I doubt very much I would have the same capabilities,
All right. Last week.
Tremendous fun. A beautiful game.
Last week, or 2 weeks ago now, you and I, I'm not going to say anything more than this, but you and I had a little private meeting with another group of people, and you said you go, wow, Jimmy, I didn't know that about you. Thank you for sharing that. But here we go. Now I'm going to give you my baseball Jimmy Church fun fact. You ready?
Yes.
I worked for Vin Scully for 2 years.
Oh, whoa. Great legendary Dodgers announcer.
Dude, going to all the Dodger home games, right there in the press booth. And
you're like UFOs Vin Scully.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You did it.
Yeah, right. And I remember this. I'm going to school at the time for broadcast and journalism, and I want to get into the game and do what I'm doing now. And here I am, with friggin' Vin Scully, right? But I want him to know what's going on, and a little, get some advice. And I said, so Vin, I'm going to broadcasting school. And he goes, for what? Right? I said, I want to get into radio. Mm-hmm. I need some advice. He goes, no problem, right? I said, okay. And I'm waiting. He goes, good luck.
That was his advice.
Oh, man.
He wanted to develop any competition.
Man. Such a cool guy.
He's like, this kid's going to be a problem.
Man, it was such a cool guy. I got to tell you. Okay. Let's.
Good story.
Yeah.
Good story.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you some Vin stuff off of the air. I want to tell some Vin Scully stories now, but I can't do it. It's just not cool. Is tomorrow the day? Here we are. And I was talking about this last week where I feel like I did when I was like 5 years old waiting for Christmas Eve, right? And I'm waiting for June 24th, right? I'm waiting for this. Does it feel that way to you?
Yeah, so, all right, I assume every listener, you probably were talking about this in the last half hour, but the UAP Task Force report coming out from the Senate. It's that was the word. It was supposed to be tomorrow, but now I'm hearing maybe Friday.
Right.
Maybe the 25th. So who knows? And will it go, will there be the classified and unclassified portions available? Will it be available to the public or just how's that all going to work out? Certainly, I think we're going to be seeing this report either tomorrow or Friday, I would think.
Well, are you excited? Do you feel some? Is there a tangible, tense thing in front of you?
No, actually, no. Honestly, what I do know is like when it comes out, I'll be like, okay, that's my day. There goes my day. I'll have to read and comment. So I will do that, and I'll be ready. I'm not excited. I mean, I'm not indifferent. I don't want to give the wrong impression. I think it's potentially very good that this report will come out. But I don't usually get excited about a lot of things before they happen. That's honestly the truth. So I'll just wait and we'll see. I'm not expecting this to be ground-breaking, earth-shattering, whatever. I would be surprised if there were not a couple of interesting tidbits in there. But, I mean, there's just so much that's not going to be in there. Like, I mean, think about all the, we're being told it goes back to 2004 Tic Tac, so no actual history. But even back to that point, there was Stevensville, Texas, 2008. You think that'll be in the report?
No.
Somehow I doubt it.
Right.
Chicago O'Hare, 2006. Amazing case. And, okay, so there weren't military jets chasing that object, but you're talking O'Hare Airport. That is absolutely of national security interest. You could make the argument. I don't think that'll be in there. There are countless, when the New York Times a couple of years ago reported about the USS Roosevelt and what seemed like 8 or 9 months of sightings from the summer of 2014 to the spring of 2015, nearly daily encounters we were told that ship had, or the crew had, with UAP. Nearly daily. Is that 180? Is that 200 encounters? Whatever. Are they going to be in? Clearly they will not. Not all of them. There's a lot that will be left out.
That's right. And you just reminded me, there's 2 other cases that have kind of fallen to the side here. One was the FA-18s off of the coast of Oregon that had that sighting that Tyler Rogaway reported, and that went out on the drive, and there was transcript, there was the radar, flight aware, sighting.
I actually totally have forgotten about that.
That's what I'm saying. It's just kind of fallen to the side. Would that be in the report? And the second case, very similar to that one, is the commercial airline combined with the military airspace between Phoenix and New Mexico.
That had a collision, right?
Right. Is that going to be in there? And that was reported by the FAA. So it's not like this isn't a government report that isn't accessible to the DIA.
Well, maybe that will be in. That would be fascinating. But here's the other problem. And Lue Elizondo talked about this at least publicly a couple of times, probably more, which was, I think, one of the reasons he and Danny Sheehan initiated the complaint to the Inspector General's office at the Pentagon was because he was strongly getting the notion that this investigation was just not going to have much promise to it. And I don't think he was criticizing the people involved. I think he was just looking at the inherent limitations of 180 days, which is not a lot of time, necessitating, like, you got to get security clearances to really do a proper investigation. And is that even possible? And the impression that I have gotten is that the staff was pretty small anyway. And so I think all of those factors and many others, I think, was convincing Lue that this process needed some oversight, hence the Inspector General. And that's actually what I have heard, and I don't think it's a problem to say this. I had dinner with Danny Sheehan when we were at our thing a week and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's questions about whether the Inspector General's office is able to do proper oversight of the UAP task force. So you got the one problem, and then you got the problem of the oversight of that. And so how much access are these members of the task force really going to be able to have? How many departments can they get into? Or are they going to get into the Pentagon SAPOC, that Special Access Program Oversight Committee, which we all learned about through the Davis-Wilson notes that I've been talking about for several years, and that I certainly think is critically important for gaining access to UFO or special access program data. That's sensitive. I seriously doubt they're going to be able to get into that. And so there's just going to be a lot of holes, and it's not their fault, but I just, I'm really wondering how far they can go.
Now, what do we know today? Certainly, Lue mentioned some things last week on this show. He called in on Thursday night and stated a few things pretty clearly as I would say as fact because of the way he presented it. And this is, he said, 78 pages that appears to be the classified section of the report, and then an additional dozen or so pages of the unclassified or public version.
So we go from 78 pages, but the public will see what, about 12?
Yeah, about a dozen pages, and that's pretty interesting.
Pretty much, that's almost nothing.
And he said, "Yeah, I know, right?"
Seriously. And we'll you imagine the public reaction? 6 months of waiting, 12 to 15 pages. Are you serious?
You get a couple of index cards with some footnotes, right?
And probably 40% of that will be padding anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh my God!
Let's circle back to that.
Just like in junior high school when you do the triple space between your lines and the largest font possible and the widest margins.
And try to get away with it, right? Try to get away with it. Now, okay, so there's that part. And then the other interesting thing that he said last week, he said a few things, but that it will be on time. That the 24th is the day. So I know that 25th has been out there. I kind of look at it like this. It gets to Congress, it gets to the Senate on the 24th, but they're going to review it, and then maybe on the 25th we'll see what they're going to discuss with the public, and I think that's a pretty safe zone to go in. I don't think it's going to.
The whole report is 78 pages. I guess okay, so that includes the classified component.
Yes.
Wow.
So
okay.
Yeah, and look, I'm not suggesting that because I don't think Lue should say anything like this public, but I don't think he was doing a page count and went, okay, 78 and this much is public, okay, this much is classified, okay, there's 120 cases. No, there's not. And I don't think he counted to 65 cases and it's not 120. And he did say last week that he wanted to leave this to the DIA to present to the Senate. It's their report, and he's just not going to disclose a bunch of stuff publicly at this point because it wasn't.
So can I tell you?
Yes.
So I'm working at least sporadically, but I am working on Volume 3 of UFOs in a National Security State. So that covers the UFO story from 1992 to today, unless I split it into an extra volume. I don't know, but I probably have, in terms of notes, I couldn't even count the number of sightings. I probably got, easy, for that period of time, 3,000, 4,000 pages of
right.
note, like that I just did. So now I've had more time to do it than this task force. But, my point is that the data, there's a tremendous amount of data. My problem is going to be just paring all that stuff down. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but it's absolutely there. Case and numbers of cases that I've got collected just from the last 20 years, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I don't know how many. Just an enormous amount. So, and of good cases. Many of them are military, not all, but there's a lot of them are military. So I'm not here to fault these people. They've got their own particular protocols they've got to go through to get access to these things. But
there's the whole interagency part of this too, as well, where you're jumping into other sections of the DOD and trying to navigate all of that. That can't be easy.
No.
So
it's difficult, and this is, I think, what prompted Lue and Danny Sheehan to issue their, I think it was formally called a complaint, but it was to the IG, not to get on the case of the task force, but I think to have a record of the process, and maybe just to do their best to prod this team to do the best job they could. That's what it seems like, anyway.
Well, let's take our break here, because when we come back after the break, it's there's a few statements that Lue made about what is in the report, and he stated this stuff publicly on the show, so I feel pretty safe in repeating it. The question is, and we'll do all of this after the break, is it actually going to be in the report the way that Lue stated this last week? And we're going to go through all of that. We have 3 different views that we need to look at with this report. We'll do all of that next with Richard Dolan. I am your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. You can follow Rich Dolan on Twitter at Rich Dolan. You can follow me at JChurch Radio. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network. KGRADB.com.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer, Einstein the Ancient Crystal Skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Richard Bleepin' Dolan is here. We're talking about the UAPTF report that may be released tomorrow, maybe Friday. We shall see. But tonight is UAPTF Eve for sure. Richard, during the break, I know you were watching me. I was over in the YouTube chat. They're not talking UFOs over there, man. UAP. They're talking baseball.
Hey, good for them.
They're talking baseball. So, okay, we have let's get down to the meat of the matter here. Yes. We've got three different ways that this report should approach things. It's been reported by the New York Times, CNN, and then Lue came on this show and discussed this last week. You and I were talking about this at length privately. Three different views. View number one, it's our tech. View number two, it's adversarial. It's Russian, Chinese. And of course, three, not of this earth, something else. We've got these. Now, Lue said on this program, Richard, that the report will state categorically that none of it that they investigated is U.S. tech. Let's leave the other two views. Let's table that for a second. Mm-hmm. But let's stop right there. That's strong. That's strong.
Well, there's a good reason he could say that, though. It's not that there is no U.S. tech that could do UFO things, but we're talking about objects that are swarming U.S. naval battle groups. I mean, actually engaged in what you would have to call harassment. So, I mean, on that basis, you could easily, it wouldn't be a difficult argument to make, it seems to me, that there are no candidates within the U.S. system, whether private contractor or military, if they've looked into this, that would prompt them to engage in virtual hostilities. I mean, again, go back to the Roosevelt 2019 article, which was referencing 2014 to 2015. At least if if the reporting of Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal is accurate, I have no reason to doubt it, that ship and the crew members of that ship were getting nearly daily harassments from unknown objects. We're talking month after month after month. And I mean, unless I'm missing something here. So it's not that U.S. black budget tech can't necessarily do these things, but you really do have to ask yourself, who and why, and you know what I mean? Like it doesn't really make a lot of sense that you would have your own technology harassing your Navy, the United States Navy. I had the same question when I researched early UFO history when I was writing UFOs in National Security State Volumes 1 and 2. I would ask myself if this could be black budget tech when U.S. military bases and installations and craft, aircraft and naval craft, were also similarly being harassed by unknown objects. And it's a fair question to say, all right, is this some secret tech we're developing? But you really have to ask yourself, how many years have to go on and until you start to think, all right, this is probably not our own tech that we're testing.
Okay.
So
now,
maybe that's why Elizondo said what he did.
Right. So let's stop right there for a second. The first question I have, if that is going to be clearly stated in the report like that, how is the Senate Intelligence Committee supposed to react? Right? I mean, what do you mean? Right. Say what? Right? I mean, how are they supposed to react to that kind of statement?
And I mean, Biden just met with Putin.
Right.
What do you think the odds are that they even mentioned this? I'm going to guess 0. You know why? Because I don't think that he even has the slightest. I don't think anyone in the U.S. national security community really thinks it's Russia or China. I just don't, because it's so provocative. It's not that there isn't tension. We know there's tension.
Right.
All right. U.S. sending warships into the Black Sea,
South China Sea,
South China Sea over there. So,
yeah,
it's an absolute, like, there's tensions there. So it's not impossible, but you're talking right off the coast of Southern California, right off the coast of Virginia. It's really, that just strikes me as that's pushing it.
Yeah, it's pushing. You're being kind. Really that's pushing it. Okay, so. Again, if it's clearly stated, that it's not our tech, what about the theory? And it's been out there quite a bit, and not only just recently, but for years, that we have been back engineering alien tech, and that is part of our arsenal, that's secret access programs. This is going on. So can you say, I mean, okay, let's stop right there. What about those theories? And you've talked about this yourself.
Yeah, and I've often argued against the people who are saying it's like Lockheed, they built it.
Right.
But I shouldn't, you can't be definitive. I should not seek to be definitive to say that it's not Lockheed. I happen to believe that they've got, I believe that they've got a flying saucer.
Richard, the Wilson Davis doc, right?
Exactly.
Jumps into this subject. In fact, the Wilson Davis document probably is centered around this idea.
Yes. Well, but if you take at face value what Wilson said in those notes to Davis, what he was told is that there had been little to no progress made on reverse engineering, something which I don't believe. I believe that they might have told him that, but I just don't believe it's true. So, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely reason to look at Lockheed, and not just Wilson Davis notes, but go back to the 1988 ARV story, which I realize is not a slam dunk. It's not necessarily exactly true, but I don't know. I think it probably is true. In other words, highly advanced reverse engineering efforts by the late 80s. And that's not the only story there either. So it's entirely possible that we have this. But then you have to keep coming back to the sheer quantity. Is Lockheed going to be doing the 2019 swarm against the battle group off, by Catalina Island?
Well, that's
really?
That's true. And that's if it's the same type of ideas of craft and what is doing the incursions. But I would also suggest that
and then there's the Tic Tac. Oh, sorry, go on.
But if they are definitively drawing the line in the sand, like this is not U.S. tech, they would have to state that in this report, whether it's an untruth or bending of the truth, because they aren't going to disclose that they've been backwards engineering alien technology. That's not going to be in the report.
Well, what about this? What if the language is so lawyerly and legalistic that when they say it's not U.S. tech, they mean U.S. government tech.
Yes, that's my point, right?
Yeah,
you know, bending the rules just a little bit, a little Einstein light bend around the sun.
One thing, you know, when I've had a couple of interesting conversations in the last couple of weeks with some interesting folks who, one of whom definitely knows a great deal about activities with inside Area 51 and that type of thing, or at least he knows enough. And inside those facilities, whether it's Area 51 or similar, you know, sealed off places, what you've got is, it's not even simply private contractors that are doing work in there, but it's foreign governments. Foreign governments. So I don't know how the relationship exactly works. But
I like where you're going with this.
I got it on a very
I like where you're going.
A very good source. This guy's in a very good position to know this. And I'm not going to mention the countries. Oh man,
Israel.
Yes, absolutely Israel. But also, this is going back years.
Right,
People's Republic of China.
Yes.
All right, so that's another one. And so think about that. Like you go into Area 51, and you know, remember when they did storm Area 51 a few years ago? Let's say thousands of people broke and they stormed Area 51, and they break in, and suddenly they're in a People's Republic of China lab.
Yeah, IDF. Yeah, an IDF lab, and that would be a lawyerly way of getting around that kind of statement, right? It's not U.S. tech. Right?
No, it would not be.
It would not be.
I would doubt that the Chinese or the Israelis or anyone else is going to be doing that to the U.S. fleet. But I don't. You know, someone's doing it. Someone is doing it. Whether it's from our species or from another species, somebody is doing that. But yeah, that what I heard about the fact that the U.S. government essentially is a police security force for private and other national entities that have somehow, maybe they rent the office space, that's what it sounds like, or the laboratory space, to do their work in these facilities. Isn't that something?
It nothing surprises me anymore. Nothing at all. Now, okay, so staying on this, I'm staying on point number one here, that it is not U.S. tech. The UFO community, skeptics, debunkers, believers, it doesn't matter. That chunk is going to now, no matter what, if this report is kicking the can down the road, they're going to say, aha, but it's not us, right? It's not us, and we'll allow this debate and research and the theories that forever, right? It leaves it wide open to discussion.
Yeah. And you have to wonder, will there be the last thing politicians want to have to do is, like, they don't want to have to do anything. They don't want to have to act. So if there's a conclusion in this report that's definitively saying this is not U.S. tech, which is apparently what Elizondo has said, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of scary if you're a politician, because then you have to do something.
That's what
you might feel obligated to do something.
I'm telling that part. I mean, I can just see the members of the Senate Intelligence Committee with their heads just spinning around. You know, but I can't imagine the reaction. I can't.
Not that
I truly
be afraid,
can't.
But that they just, it's like, oh, do we have to take responsibility to do something now? Because it's, it's being left to a mystery. And it's important because if you conclude it's Russia or China, those are very serious, not just political implications, like international diplomacy considerations, because that's something that can take you to armed conflict.
Now, to the second point, I'm looking at the clock. Let's get these next two things in before the break. Adversarial. What's the definitive proof here, and how may this report approach this? Because if they start pointing fingers, it's how did Russia and China get a hold of this kind of tech? Are they?
It's not going to happen. They're not going to do that. Do you think?
Well, if they don't, the third choice, Richard, is ET. And if this report says nothing, we can't prove anything. It's not United States tech. We don't know if it's Russia or China, and we don't know if it's, then what's the purpose of the report?
They'll drag the ET thing out forever. For years. There are so many gradations and levels of fallback positions for these guys to maintain this secret for years and years and years. So right now we're at a very limited level. We're at the level of where we are now allowed to say, yeah, there's something out there. We don't know what it is. That may not sound like a lot to us, but keep in mind, even 5 years ago, we had never reached that level as a society publicly. We had never reached that admission. And suddenly, thanks to people like Lue Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, and we got to that position, and Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal, let's not forget them. Mm-hmm. We got to a position where we could actually have a conversation in public and acknowledge that there's a mystery there. But there are so many levels beyond this. Like, even before you get to acknowledgement of crash retrievals, which I think is the big red line, once you acknowledge that you've acquired or recovered some of this exotic tech, now you're into official cover-up territory. And now, like in an era where no one's supposed to believe in conspiracy theories ever again, because that's considered wrong now, this would be admitting the mother of all conspiracy theories. Like, what's bigger than the UFO cover-up? There's nothing.
No, nothing.
So it'd be like saying, don't believe in conspiracy theories, but actually the biggest one of all time is totally true. We've been lying about UFOs forever. Like, that's just not going to happen. So, and there are many positions that one can take between where we are now, which is that there's a mystery there, and acknowledging crash retrievals. Like, they could say, yeah, we have been studying this for a while, but A, we didn't really want to panic the public. That's why we kept secret. And B, we still haven't figured anything out. Like, they could say that. And that's still maintaining the cover-up. Or they can say, we actually did recover some artifacts, but damned if we can figure it out. And just on and on. Anything to avoid culpability and blame. Like, that's the thing that they have to avoid. And look, they could drag this out for 5 years, easy. They could do this for 10 years. And they might even be able to walk some of these admissions back. It wouldn't shock me in the least. It would be difficult now because, as one person said to me, too much toothpaste has gotten out of the tube, and it's not going back in. But it doesn't mean that we're going to be on the avalanche to, the snowball effect of disclosure, which is what I wrote with Bryce Zabel 11 years ago when we wrote AD After Disclosure. Our assumption, which I think was easily the dominant assumption that everyone had, which is that if some of this important information came out, it could cause a snowball effect because people would be like, hey, you've been lying to us for all of these years. And that hasn't happened yet. That was the big thing that has not happened. And I think partly because we're seeing much greater control over all media than even existed in 2010, including social media and all of that. But yeah, there's a lot more control, and it's coming out in a much more deliberate way. Yeah. And, folks like Elizondo, they're all afraid of breaking their security clearances. They're terrified.
The expectations of so many, and you don't even have to be in the UFO community to be aware of the UAPTF, and it's certainly been covered in the national and worldwide media. And there's an expectation of content, what is going to be in the report. But what about what's not going to be in the report? That's another consideration here, where some of these things won't be addressed at all. Is that just as important as something that would be written in the report?
Yeah. Oh, so much cannot be put into that report because it would. Because one thing that we got right about after disclosure is recognizing how revolutionary true UFO disclosure would be. It's it's truly a case that nothing would be bigger, and it's just, it can't. The people who are running our world, and there are such people, and they run our major media and they run our politics. They cannot let this happen. This is why, maybe I'll turn out to be wrong about this, but so far I think I'm right, which is that the group that has been pushing for this information to come out, let's say the TTSA, the Bigelow crowd, Lue Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, and Hal Puthoff, who's been part of that whole thing for decades. I wouldn't say that they're like the ultimate freedom fighters trying to get full disclosure. Like, they're not like that. Believe me. Every time I try to write to someone like Hal Puthoff, who I've known for 20 years, we're very nice to each other, and he'll just give me what he decides to give me, and never a drop more. And it has always been like that. So they keep their information very closely. They're not like evangelists for UFO disclosure. They are not. They've got other fish to fry. Now, what are they actually trying to do? That's a really good question. I think that they want some openness on this subject. I know that they do. I know they want some, and I think they believe that. But they are bound by significant security clearances. So really what I think they're doing is they're on a little tightrope, and they are carefully trying to walk their way across that without getting into trouble. That's definitely the case. You talk to someone like Lue Elizondo, that's obviously the case. It's obvious he knows 100 times more than what he has said publicly. But they cannot go over the line. None of those people. So there's so much. So here's what's not going to be in the report. The fact that we've had countless military engagements through the decades, no. The fact that there have been crash retrievals and other types of acquisition of UFO tech won't be in. Obviously, they won't. The fact that there's been, in my view, good argument to be made that there's been acquisition of bodies and live beings. And there won't be any analysis of the actual structure of secrecy. In other words, how is this whole thing managed and kept from the public? And that's not in the mandate of the task force, so it's not their fault. But these are important things. They won't be discussed. And abductions, no, that won't come in. Encounters of any sort. The thing with the UFO phenomenon and what it represents is there's so many important things happening with it. And, each one of those you could spend weeks and months and years studying. Will there be any discussion over the fact that these beings, they seem to be omnipresent around our planet? One thing that I've been looking at, I don't know many other people who look at this. I actually like to study current UFO sightings reports. I'll go to the National UFO Reporting Center. I love that site. It's Peter Davenport. Thank God he does it. George Filer is still going.
Yeah,
George Filer, God bless him.
Right.
And he does Filer's Files. And so there's good information. And what you learn when you read these things is how many amazing sightings go on around the world every day. People say, oh, who cares about sightings? Lights in the sky. No, you should care. There's like one typical thing that I see all the time are these like 3 a.m. over your house in your neighborhood sightings of low black triangles or sometimes low saucer-shaped objects skulking about your neighborhood. Like, I would like to know what that is. That goes on seemingly every single day.
It does. I had Cheryl Costa on the show last night.
Oh, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Researcher.
Oh, man. Right. And I'm looking at the charts and going over all of the, and when you start connecting the dots, when you're overlaying these charts and you're starting to see what's going on, there is a definite real pattern going on here, not discussed.
I have a book that deals with New York State sightings. It's lying around here, and she's probably done beyond that. But yeah, she's collected a lot of data, and that's another good source. Glad you mentioned her.
Yeah. And she sent me the California book yesterday.
I got to go catch up on her work.
Well, so now when we come back, I want to discuss another angle of all of this. Philip Klass or the Michael Shermers of the world and the skeptics and the debunkers that have constantly stated that we're crazy. This is our imagination. We're delusional, schizophrenic, whatever the case may be. And last night I'm reading a book, it's a book on physics and space. But there was a chapter in the book, and there was a couple of pages talking about UFOs and visitations here, and name dropping, right? Talking about Eric Von Daniken and these brought up David Icke in this book on physics. I couldn't believe it, right? So anyway, wow. And I'm reading these pages, and the thing that this physicist was clearly stating is that we're not being visited by anything anywhere, and that it's an impossibility. And what happens?
Oh, that's why he brought up those names, of course.
Right.
The ones to just trash talk against.
Yes. Okay. So what happens now to the Michael Shermers of the world? Right? If this is now the position of our military and this is how we are moving forward, every network is talking about it. This is the subject of today. What happens?
Might change their public opinion.
Do you think they'll bend?
I talked with one, I'm not going to mention any names. I talked with one filmmaker in the UFO field who knows a lot of the skeptics. And this is years ago, many years ago. And said to me, like, there's one famous skeptic over beers, privately. He was like, oh, yeah, I know there's a lot of good UFO reports. But they could never, ever admit it publicly. Because that's the problem with being a public persona. You box yourself into a corner. It's very difficult. Everyone, me, you, everyone else, they have to deal with that. And the best thing you could do is be aware of it and fight it. But there's always that temptation to play to your base. And that's what this one particular skeptic over some beers with a filmmaker basically said, yeah, no, I know there's a lot of good UFO reports.
And they do play to the base, they do. Yes. And I can't, could you imagine, Philip Klass going on, Larry King? Okay, man, I was wrong. No, it's not going to play out that way. Michael Shermer,
community handlers would not have approved.
No, absolutely not. Michael Shermer's a nice guy. He's a totally nice guy. I reached out. I reached out to him recently. Called his office. It's Jimmy Church want to get you on the show, and it was a flat out no. And I thought it wasn't going to be an issue. I really do. I think he's a really nice guy. But I can't see Michael Shermer saying, you know what? Okay, the data is this. I was wrong. Now let's talk about UFOs. I just don't see it happen.
I saw that Sam Harris was making some statements. I actually didn't hear them, but I got the impression that he was somewhat friendly toward UFOs. Maybe someone can correct.
No, I follow Sam Harris. I've listened to thousands of hours of Sam Harris. I like the guy. As radical as he's a radical dude. I mean, he's got some
a lot I do not like or agree when I hear him.
Right. But he is fascinated with the alien subject. He is absolutely inquisitive and wants to know. And then he stated, I got to take a break right here. He stated last week, maybe a week and a half ago, that he was approached, I believe, by the NSA for him to publicly talk about disclosure. And I think he turned him down. Sam Harris. Yes. Yeah.
Look, they want Sam Harris to talk about UFO disclosure.
Yeah. Now type into your browser during the break, Sam Harris, NSA, disinfo UFO. Watch what pops up. And let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Richard Dolan. Yeah, he's typing. I'm watching. Richard is typing.
I'm about to.
We'll talk about it.
Beverage.
This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Richard after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Richard Dolan is here. We're talking about the UAP Task Force report and our little preview on what we know, what we can expect. And it's going to be a very interesting end of the week here. Thursday is tomorrow. That's the 24th. The anticipated release date. And, of course, the other date that has been thrown around is Friday the 25th. And right before the break, we were talking about Sam Harris. And I just pulled this up. It says an article out there, news release. In recent weeks, the author podcaster Sam Harris, in no fewer than 3 separate podcasts, has stated repeatedly that someone in or with connections to the United States government has personally reached out to him so he can begin to wrap his brain around the fact that UFOs represent non-human intelligence and think about how he might help prepare the public for disclosure.
Did you call that disinfo, or is that just my imagination that you did that?
No,
No, not just now, but before the break.
Oh, did I?
I thought you were saying it was NSA disinfo with Sam Harris on UFOs.
No, I didn't say disinfo. I believe no. And if I did, I misspoke.
No, okay, maybe it's me.
Okay, well, it could be. It could be both of us, Richard.
Because I typed it in and I did not find what you found.
Okay.
On my phone here, I'm using Google. Ugh. So maybe that's why. What was weird is when I typed in Sam Harris NSA UFO disinfo, the top one was Lex Fridman podcast with Sam Harris. That comes up on top. But number 5 was my book After Disclosure, which doesn't have Sam Harris in it. I don't know why my book came up. That was weird.
Yeah, take out disinfo. But the point, and I said NSA, and I've heard this talked about so much over the last couple of weeks, and I listened to
Lex Fridman, who's the guy's wicked smart. That guy.
Yeah. You know what's funny about Lex? I want to get back to Sam Harris in a second. Lex. And I remember when he had no subscribers, right? And where he is at now, in a couple of years, holy crap, right? But he is so slow on his delivery because he's thinking and his approach to the conversation, and I didn't dig that at first. Now I need that. I dig his way of interviewing, and he pulls info, man. He's
outstanding.
Outstanding. His interview that he did with his dad. Have you listened to that?
I've only caught a few.
Okay, listen, go back. It's a couple of years ago, but he sits down with his dad for like 4 hours. Holy crap, man! What a conversation! I
caught him with Dan Carlin, Hardcore History. It's awesome.
Yes,
and a lot of other folks actually, and I catch a lot of the clips, which are easy.
Yeah, he's really good. Okay, so back to Sam Harris, and who is somebody that is very visible, very controversial, but he's got a very, very large footprint out there with the world in social media.
Approached him. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Right. Now,
and he said no. So did he say like, I think they're full of it, or wow, UFOs, maybe there's something to it?
Yeah, okay, this is what he is trying to make everybody aware is that he was approached by the government to help prepare the public for UFOs and disclosure, and that the things that are going on are not of this world. And that's what he has stated. Now, is there a cooperation with that? And he hasn't said that. Did he? But yes. And I have to take him at his word. I don't think Sam Harris is going to go out there and...
No, he wouldn't lie. It wouldn't make any sense. Well, there's two ways to look at it, and you're going to have two schools of thought at all times. You're going to have the school of thought that's going to argue that this is one big disinformation psyop to scare the public into believing that there's aliens and come running to the big state, to protect you. That there's a lot of people out there who will argue that. And many of those people don't believe in aliens or UFOs. So it's easy for them. But then they're, I would see it differently. I mean, I think that certainly there are people in the NSA who knows that UFOs are real and that there's a non-human component to it. So let's assume those are the people who approached Harris. So do they genuinely believe in getting this information out? If you really think about it, there are people who want to keep this secret forever. And that's always been a faction. You read the books of Donald Kehoe from the 1950s, and he talked about the secrecy group. But there were always a faction of people who did not believe in secrecy, even back then. Because the ruling elites are never monolithic. There are always divergences of opinion then and now. So is it possible that there's an anti-secrecy group only because they might realize we're in 2021 and this is becoming more difficult to contain? I mean, on the one hand, it's becoming easier, but on the other hand, it's much more difficult. It's becoming easier because there is increasingly a global control over digital information, at least that is attempted to be happening by governments and centralized powers. Like they want to control. They want to take us back to the 1980s and have totally centralized control. But it's difficult because there's just a lot of decentralized information that's out there, and this just may be difficult to contain. And it may be that there are people who think this is impossible to keep forever. So let us get ahead of the game, and we will roll this out the way we want to do it. I've always thought that's a possibility.
It is. Now, I want you to look at your screen. I don't want this to get out to the public, but I want you to look at the screen. Can you make that out? Okay, there you go. You see that?
Sort of, yeah. There's a couple. Can I describe this at all?
No, you are not going to do that.
I can't read what you're showing me, but I can see those things.
Okay. That's identification from an agency that was sent to me, and they reached out and wanted to have a conversation with me about disclosure. And if I would get back and speak, and I said no. And I said, I'm not interested.
So you did the same thing Sam Harris did?
Yeah, I did the very same thing. And that was sent to me for proof of ID, and it was pretty intimidating. And but I said no. And if
can you just explain a little more? Like, what did he exactly say to you?
Just what I just said. It was nothing, no more and no less. Okay. This is me. This is who I am. This is who I represent. Would you like to give us a call and have a conversation and help with disclosure? Help with disclosure. And I said no. Now let's back up a step here. You and I have shared information and stuff that needs to remain, because if it goes out into the public and it's wrong, that's not cool. There's that part of it. And the other thing is you don't know what's real and what's not. And how much of that?
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
You should see Richard laugh right there. How much of that happens to you? Where you're given something, you don't want to tease the public. Oh, I'm sitting at you. You can't do that, but you certainly have to somehow try to vet it or wait to see if it resolves itself.
Many times. It happened to me many times. And I'm always cautious. And a lot of the things, and I thank God in many cases, I didn't jump the gun on some of these because they turned out to be complete nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Many times. I'm talking over 15 years or more for me. It's been a long time. And sometimes someone will try to, indicate that this is just explosive information in one way or another. And in fact, I remember one, this is over a decade ago. It was like some kind of, like an invasion scenario, stockpiling for an alien presence and this type of thing. And it was supposedly a military document. And it was nicely put together. And I thought, God, I hope this isn't true. But the date came and went, nothing. And it's just always like that. And I just thought, I'm glad I didn't mention that, but that's happened probably at least 10, 15 times that I can think of where I just held back, and I'm always glad. And eventually, look, I'll everything that I think is legitimate, I put out there. But I usually wait.
Now, is there in your eyes, is there a possibility, Richard, that not only with this report, but the way that everything has been handled in the last 4 or 5 years, that this are we being played? And I know you've thought about this. I mean, is it?
Yeah, but the question is like, played in what capacity for what purpose? What's the game?
What's the game?
I don't like to speculate about being played as a knee-jerk. A lot of people do this as a knee-jerk reflexive thing. They'll be like, disinfo. because their first instinct is to assume the government's lying.
Always.
Which is a good instinct.
Yeah, it's a good instinct.
I'm not going to say it isn't a good instinct, but I don't want to go there if there's no plan. So what is the plan? Some people think the plan is to scare the public and to spend trillions of dollars on a new space force. Maybe that's it. Terrify the public that there are evil aliens, and you then justify that. I personally don't think that's necessary to drum up a truckload of money. I mean, we're already spending $1 trillion a year on defense, and anything we don't have, we just print up. No problem, just print up the money. So I don't really see that as the game. What is the psyop? What's the game? I think in terms of factions. I don't think in terms of a monolithic conspiracy. I think in terms of a power play among different groups.
Well, okay. One of your favorite subjects is false flags and evidence of this over the years, and you are very compelling because your evidence is so comprehensive, and you're able to lay it out there logically where we can go, okay, well, crap, man, I guess anything is possible. And Gulf of Tonkin, you could just go.
Yes, we live in an era of false flags. They are I don't want to say ubiquitous, but they're very common, and they're becoming harder and harder to identify and more sophisticated. It's not like the Japanese in Manchuria creating like the false flags of the 1930s and 40s would never succeed today. They're just way too primitive. So they've gotten better and better and better. But I'm glad you mentioned false flags in the context of, all the UFO information, because we hear this a lot from certain people. But I would say this, there's very little about this that strikes me as a false flag. One of the key things of any false flag is you need a powerful media narrative that is coordinated, and that also drives you to immediate trauma and action. Like, think of the aftermath of 9/11. That's classic, right? The whole nation's just
the whole world,
traumatized.
yeah, the whole world, yeah.
And you are galvanized immediately into something that could never otherwise be justified, which is invade a couple of countries in this case and pass fascistic laws against the citizens of the U.S. None of those could have happened without 9/11. The anthrax scare is a genuine, I consider that a genuine false flag. And again, you get the kind of media narrative that's comprehensive. And there have been false flags since then. But this is not one of them. I just don't. Where is the coordinated media effort to scare the people? You hear this all the time. No one's scared. No one is scared. It's been 3.5 years or more now since the New York Times first articles came out on this. I mean, apart from a couple of random statements from Elizondo and Mellon and maybe a few other people, I don't know, about this being a potential threat, which, by the way, is totally legit to say. Where's the scare 'em up propaganda here? I'm not hearing it from anyone, and you're certainly not seeing it in the public.
Except, hold on, this is where you and I may part ways on this road. Except that is the purpose, in my eyes, with this report. Right? Our defenses are being breached. We have no way to fight this off. It is technology beyond anything that we have. And
this is actually all true statements.
Right, so. Right. So, yeah, I think that's going to scare the crap out of the military-industrial.
Well, you got to wait till we read the wording of the report.
But you understand. You understand.
Bureaucratic.
You understand my take, though.
It's possible. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. I would say I want to wait until I read the report to see if I agree with you. But yeah, you can determine from the language, and maybe I don't think that's going to happen. I'll be surprised.
Now, what if when we talk about a possible alien false flag here. I'm not talking about Project Bluebeam. I'm not talking about holographic Independence Day star cruisers over New York City. But what about a Gulf of Tonkin situation where you've got a missile cruiser out in the middle of the ocean, no witnesses, nothing, nobody there, but it gets shot at by a UFO, right? It gets shot at by a UAP, and this has now happened. Is that a scenario that is possible right now? I mean, I
well,
see.
There would be a couple of big differences with Tonkin. I mean, in the Gulf of Tonkin, the United States was doing electronic espionage against the North Vietnamese in North Vietnamese waters, and they did a deliberate provocation. NSA was all over this, of course, we now know, and they were provoking the North Vietnamese, who then retaliated with a couple of pea shooters on one of their little PT boats that bounced off the side of the USS Maxwell, and then the U.S. used that to justify a massive escalation of the war in Vietnam.
Right.
So to use that analogy here with ETs, I mean, I can't think you're implying that we're going to start a war with ET over a fake provocation. How would that happen?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If there's no witnesses and all we have is the reports on the other side, the fake alien invasion scenario that has been bandied about for the last 20, 30 years, is it possible to have something like that without witnesses? False flags happened all the time.
I'll say this. If we are told that that is the case, I would say that's a false flag. Like, I don't think that would happen. But if it does happen, I would agree. Like, that would be a complete false flag. But the thing is, maybe I'm just not thinking creatively enough. I'm trying to think maybe it's not necessary. I mean, what would be the purpose? A global totalitarian system is already fast coming into place. What other justifications do they need? I mean, they're doing it. It's already happening. And what is, the real question I would ask is, what is to be gained from an elite group that would plan such a false flag is what you're suggesting. And I'm not sure that I can see what would be gained.
No, I'm not suggesting. I'm not on that side of the fence. I'm not on that side of the fence at all.
You're just spitballing. You're putting it out there.
I'm we're whiteboarding here, with the reasons for this report. It's going to go. We're going to have some reactions from the Senate Intelligence Committee. And if it clearly states in that report, Richard, that it is not us, there's going to be some reaction to that. There just is. And I don't know if it's...
I'll bet you they're not going to have any conclusions. So they'll say, well, we know it isn't U.S. tech. They might. So let's say they say that. But, I mean, do you really think they're going to conclude we think it's ET or we think it's the Chinese or the Russian? Like, they're not going to do that.
Well,
I think they'll just leave it open. They'll say, we need more information. We don't have enough data. They'll do something like that.
Okay, Richard, you're sitting at the big mahogany desk, right? Senate chambers, right? And you're sitting up, and this report plops down and says it's not us. You're going to look down and go, okay, well, who is it then? If it's not us,
there won't be an answer. And then that'll be like more committees, more research, follow-up, more funding for the next UAP task force.
Can you imagine the headlines on the New York Times? UAPs are not us, right? It's like Mars attacks. I'm serious. This is, what other conclusion can you come to? If you don't want to get into a world war with Russia and China, which I understand the possibilities of that kind of provocation in this report, but you've got to come to a conclusion. And if one conclusion is it's not us, what is left on the table? What is left? You can't say we don't know.
I totally agree. Like, the obvious conclusion is it's not our civilization. Particularly, you look at the Tic Tac. I know there's people out there who argue that the Tic Tac is Lockheed or Black Budget. I was sent a Tic Tac UFO report from 1892. I have it on my phone here. It's on the from the website waterufo.net by the late Carl Feind, who I knew Carl. He was a great researcher and a good man. And this is off the coast of Southern California. It was reported in the newspaper of the time of an object coming out of the water. Very clear description. This was only recently sent to me. So, I mean, I just think, you know, the conclusion is clear that these objects, in the vast majority of cases, are not ours. And we use the phrase tic-tac all the time, but that's how different is that from cigar-shaped or disc-shaped object? We've had these descriptions going back decades and decades. And in the 1940s, over places like White Sands Proving Ground and other Los Alamos National Labs.
Lonnie Zamora, Socorro.
That in the 60s, yes. But in the 40s, these guys were tracking objects that were not supposed to be in that airspace, and they were tracking them with high-quality instrumentation and theodolites that were way better than just telescopes. They had all kinds of measuring instrumentation on them, measure the speed, measure the altitude, the angle, and they had accurate measurements of cigar-shaped objects traveling at 18,000 miles per hour at high altitude. Not meteors. These are artificial objects. They got the diameters, the whole thing, multiple times. And when Fravor described the departure of the Tic Tac UFO in 2004, when he said it was out of his complete vision within 2 seconds, you know, and he had perfect visibility, I think he said, of 10 miles and general visibility of 50. You're talking 10,000 miles minimum. So same speeds, but they were being recorded in the 40s. Same types of objects. And I've talked many times about a report that I found personally in the Canadian National Archives. So I was going through them many years ago. I spent about a week there, and I found one report from 1936 from the Northwest Territories of Canada, written many years after the fact by the witness, but he was meticulous. Talked about how he was doing aerial mapping for the Canadian government back then, with a cool pontoon plane that can land on water because there's infinite numbers of lakes up there. You go way up. And he just happened to look up in 1936, middle of nowhere, and sees a slightly elongated object in a north-south configuration. He says, I was shocked. Like, it was just perfect blue sky, and this thing was right there. And he said, I watched it rotate to an east-west configuration and instantly take off silently, gone like a bullet.
What do you do with that? Yeah.
That's a tic-tac. That, other than the fact it was gunmetal gray, not white, it was identical in description to a tic-tac, to what Fravor described.
Yeah, and Socorro just keeps coming back to mind with this. And I was talking to Cheryl Costa about this last night. Should we consider, egg-shaped or oval-shaped UFO reports that have been, thousands of them? Are we talking about the same thing? So let's take our break right here, Richard. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Now, when we come back, there's a fourth scenario here that Lue Elizondo brought up last week. I'll discuss all of that with Richard when we come back. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com. KGRA.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRAradio.com.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit unitedgoldgroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Man, I got to get back into the action here. You know, I spend the segments. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Richard Dolan. I spend, the segments over in Twitter, and I'm hanging out with everybody. And then when I go to commercial break, I jump over to YouTube, and you guys are too much. You guys are too much. I go over to YouTube, Richard, and I just see who's misbehaving, and I chop. I ban.
On your channel?
Yeah, on my channel. Then I jump back over to here real quick. I run away.
Do you do all of your own? You can't be your own moderator.
Oh no, I've got 3 or 4 people in there. Oh yeah, no, it's out of control. It's fun though. It's fun.
Tell them all I said hey.
Okay, well they can hear you, Richard. They're okay.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So,
Richard says, "Hey."
Yeah, let them know. They might not otherwise realize that I'm attempting a greeting to the good people in the YouTube chat.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. I love it. We have the Spreaker chat. We have KGRA. We have Twitter, Facebook, and all of these chats going on at the same time. It's just so much fun. Now, okay, the fourth scenario, and the reason why I jumped over to YouTube, because I mentioned the fourth scenario before the break, I wanted to see if somebody wanted to take some guesses as to what I was going to mention. And everybody missed it. So this is the fourth scenario. The fourth scenario that Lue pointed out, because I kept going, E.T., Russia, China, us, E.T., Russia, China. And he said, no, there's a fourth possibility here. I said, okay. He said, they're from here, but they're not Chinese. They're not us. They're living and established in the oceans. And I stepped back and thought about the significance. I pondered the significance, right?
He said this live on your show?
Yes. Now, think about that for a second. Is that an answer that would be not only talked about or investigated, but if we think about what has gone on with everything, it's the United States Navy. It's out in the oceans. There have been reports of, the ingress and egress out of the waters with these objects, and just maybe they're just here, right? And it's not necessarily interstellar arriving and ET, that they're hiding. They're hiding in plain sight. Now, is that something to be considered?
Oh, I think yes, absolutely. But I would tend to think of that as an ET presence that just established their base under the oceans. I have a hard time imagining a long-term under the ocean presence of a highly technologically advanced civilization. Because I keep thinking, what would you want to be doing down there? Like if you're on Earth, again, so correct me if I'm being too pedestrian here. If you're on Earth, you would want to make use of the above ground environment.
If you breathe the oxygen, if you are a nitrogen, oxygen,
right,
breathing.
So if you don't, that's a fair point. So if you don't, but I mean,
you want your own environment that you're controlling, and you would do that under the water with an enclosed situation.
No sunlight and total blackness. So you create your own. You create your own energy, right? You create your own light. I would think you would do it under the ocean floor. You could create cavernous. Of course, I don't know what the geology is like down there. Like, when you dig down into the earth, it gets hotter and hotter and hotter. But there's a lot of energy. You could use geothermal energy, or you could use whatever your advanced energy generation could be. I mean, you could do it. The U.S. Navy back in the 1960s was making plans, or at least was entertaining plans, to go deep under the ocean floor.
Avi Loeb,
we know this. We've got the records for
it. Right. Avi Loeb said something very interesting to me once, and he said this: if the Earth, something happens, and this occurs all the time throughout the universe, where planets are ejected from their solar system, right? And I heard a physicist say the other day, there may be more rogue planets out there than there are planets tied to stars, right? That's a pretty interesting concept. But that life on Earth would not end because of a lack of sunlight. The Earth's core is going to generate heat, and we have life that doesn't ever see sunlight deep in the darkness of the oceans. And that life will continue. Humans won't, right? We're done. That part of, but life will continue if the Earth spins off into space.
Particularly advanced life, unless advanced life can adapt down there somehow without the sun.
Well, you would have to be an advanced life first. Then you live under, right? You're not. There is something to consider here. If there is life in the oceans of Europa, right? Okay, and there's Lots of conversation about this right now.
It could be quite possible.
Right?
Yeah.
But you know what? It won't be advanced. You want me to tell you why?
Please.
No fire. Right? You need.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
you need fire.
I have a hard time imagining.
Right. If you want to take things to the next level, you need fire. Right?
I agree. I'll agree with you. I agree with that.
Octopi, very smart, but they can't light a match. Right? So they don't have that capability.
It's the ability to create tools.
To create
sophisticated tools. And,
so you would have to be advanced before you enter the ocean.
I would tend to agree. Without a doubt. I would agree with that. But anyway, back to what Lue Elizondo was saying to you then.
It is
four.
Right. Does he have knowledge? Is there a reason for him to...
Yes.
Right.
He does. I'll bet he does. And I'm not speaking from my own knowledge of this. I have talked with him, but I don't know this. But it's very obvious that man knows much more than what he says publicly. That's obvious.
I know that you have asked this of him. I certainly did. And I said, okay, Lou, how many pictures, how many videos have you seen of actual UFOs, ET, little green men? And, he goes to the NDA card first, right? I've got my security clearance, but I've seen a lot, right? With what he's referring to versus what has been leaked and gone into the public, and certainly I would put the Tic Tac in that category, or Jeremy's Flying Toasters video. I will put that into that category. That's nothing definitive. That's nothing that's going to, rewrite history. But that's not everything that the United States government has. It's an impossible thought. They are sitting on video and photograph evidence that is not only definitive, but would change the course of history. I don't think there's a question about that.
And for decades and decades and decades.
Right.
Back in 60s and 50s and 40s, they've had excellent video. Back in, I think it was 1960, early 60s, during the launch of I think it was a Titan missile.
Vandenberg?
Was it Vandenberg? I thought it was in New Mexico, but in any case, probably this actually happened multiple times. And actually, even in the 40s, this I know, White Sands. Testing, this is a 1948 or 49 Navy missile test. I was just looking at this recently. That's why I know. And it had just achieved the missile at a speed of about 1,300 miles per hour, which at that time was pretty good. We're talking late 1940s U.S. Navy missile test in White Sands, and two white objects circled the missile. One circled through the exhaust of the missile, and then they rejoined and took off. And I can't remember in this case if the missile crashed or not. Some of them have crashed, others did not. But they got it on film, and then the film was confiscated, gone. Happens all the time. So they've had good film quality going back 70 years or more.
Now the Trepang photographs were part of internet chatter over the last week or so in connection with the UAP Task Force report and what may or may not be going on in the oceans out there. And we're talking about evidence. And then those photographs surfaced again. Is this going back to what we are talking about? It's the oceans, it's the Navy, it's what has been photographed, what has been witnessed. And when you look at the Trepang photographs, one of them looks pretty triangular-ish to me. The other ones don't. They look more cigar-shaped. But clearly something is coming out of the water in those photographs.
I'm looking at them here.
Yeah. Is this something that is just more evidence of everything that we're talking about?
I guess so. I look. I haven't really dove in and investigated this, so I don't want to make an unstudied statement about it. But yeah, they're quite fascinating. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it.
Right.
Things are coming out, though, fast at a rate that had not existed 5 years ago. So I think we can expect more of that. And I think, that might be, we might have just hit a kind of ongoing acceleration phase of where enough is out that other people are continually dripping out more information. And maybe this will be the avalanche effect that I wondered about over a decade ago.
What did you make of Jan Psaki when she got those questions thrown at her in the press room at the White House about the UAP Task Force report and an alien or ET connection to it? And
I thought she just deflected. I didn't remember the specifics of what she said.
She flipped open the 3-ring binder. She had a prepared statement.
Oh, well, tell me, because I don't remember this, so I don't know this.
Okay, well, I'm going to say just really briefly, she went from a slight smirk on her face. The reporter then asked the question a second time, and I think she was standing on the side of the podium at that point, like leaning on it. And she smirked, and then the question happened the second time. She went back behind the podium, flipped open the 3-ring binder, and had her prepared statement about the UAP task force. And what she said, I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Yeah.
What she said was that the president was counting on the ODNI to prepare an effective report as requested by the Senate Intelligence Committee that was part of the intelligence budget from 2020, and they were tasked to do this job, and the president was counting on them to deliver the report in a timely manner. Now,
that's pretty boilerplate standard. Kind of
was.
There's nothing. She's not going out on a limb there.
No. But what was interesting before she stepped around to the podium, she said UFOs. Now, I saw this live, Richard, right? And I stepped back and I thought to myself,
she went there.
Has UFO ever been mentioned publicly from the White House like that, in this kind of situation? So going back to your point, we are at a point in history where this subject is now being discussed openly in the White House press briefing room by reporters, and the president is aware of this report. That's crazy town to me.
I believe that, and this is not a new belief, I've been predicting this for maybe close to 20 years now, that not everything comes from as a top-down initiative. So not everything is completely controlled from the top. There are pressures coming from below, from the people. And I have believed for 20 years or more that we're in an era in which tremendous amounts of change are happening at the societal level. A lot of that's manipulated from the top. It's absolutely true. But there is definitely motion coming from below, and has always come from below on UFOs. Always has been. Back in the 1980s and 90s, before there was an internet, there was a lot of public interest in this subject, except back then there was not an opportunity for people to express it as much. Then once we had a web, that all changed. And I really think it's been several decades, but it has had an effect on mass culture. And that is why I think we've been seeing a lot of these, like efforts like what TTSA did probably could not have succeeded in the pre-internet era. In fact, there was nothing like it in the pre-internet era, so that probably proves it. And I guess I believe that what we're seeing is the establishment is reacting to genuine pressures from the people on the matter of UFOs. I guess that's what I'm saying.
There was one.
So they're playing defense.
There was you had a lot of scenarios in AD after disclosure, and we've discussed this a lot over the years. But there was one angle that you presented there that I almost see. I'm not talking about a prophet situation like you were predicting the future, but it kind of played out the way that you presented it in the book, which is disclosure may happen with leaks and something that is out of the government's control, and they are going to have to respond to it, and disclosure would be exposed because of this. And it, by and large, if you go back to the gimbal and the Tic Tac and the way that was leaked, and it, you know, and the response of the Pentagon, and how all of it appears that scenario that you presented played out.
Yeah, maybe it did. The only difference being that when we wrote it out or played it out in our minds, we were thinking it would be a much shorter timeline for everything to happen. And I don't think I was expecting many years would pass. But actually, it's true. I mean, other than the speed, I think, and it's a sign of pressure from below. I mean, how did those videos come out? That was Elizondo and Mellon working together to very carefully, with, from what I understand anyway, allies working with them to get those videos released. And they went kind of on the down low, talking about it as UFOs. They didn't talk about them as UFOs. And they were able to get them out, those 3 videos, at least partially. And that was a coup. That was a real score. And it doesn't mean that all 3 of those videos demonstrate genuine UFO craft. And in fact, I only think really one of them probably does, the Tic Tac one.
Oh, I would say the Go Fast.
You do?
Yeah.
I go back and forth on that. Sometimes I don't think that it is, but they're all interesting. And, you know, Elizondo and Mellon really got those out.
So, so in light of that, you know, the way that you presented this in AD, and I remember this goes back a long time. I remember you and I talking about this, you know, 7-8 years ago. You know, a document leak, a WikiLeaks style, you know, a possible hack, and boom, and everything comes out, and the government's hand is now forced, and they're gonna have. And we talked about this specifically, but how did you follow up? What was the aftermath of your scenario? Do you anticipate it to play out like this in the next couple of weeks after this report?
Well, the biggest difference between when we wrote that book in 2010 and now is that, I mean, the mainstream media was just as controlled then, basically, as it is now. But what was different is that big tech wasn't quite the big tech that exists today. So you didn't have the dishonest algorithms. You didn't have YouTube searches being completely obliterated and made useless. You didn't have Google being anywhere nearly as evil as they have become, at least overtly. You didn't have the ham-fisted censorship in, you know, Facebook and Twitter that we have today. So it was a different world in 2010 where the internet actually felt free to people on the left and on the right. It was free to everyone, and that's not the case anymore. And so you've got a similar level of control over much of the internet that you have over the legacy establishment media. So that's the difference now with today. And that will make a difference in terms of the rollout of disclosure. What we imagined a decade ago was that something big would happen, the establishment media would drag their heels, but that the alternative media, which really was alternative and powerful in 2010, we thought that would be the thing that would drive it forward. And there is an alternative media still, but it's been kneecapped, and you can't find them as easily in the algorithms and all of that. So it's much more difficult now. So that's the big difference. And I just don't know how it's going to work out. I mean, I think there's a lot of control over all of the media. It's not total control, though. Control is not total. So I'm still hopeful that, because I believe in breaking the secrecy on this system, I think it's time.
Do you think that
spoon-fed BS like you're 5 years old for the rest of your life? You know, fed lies.
Sure.
It's time to grow up.
Do you think the coverage of not only COVID and the pandemic and the economy and everything that is out there driving these headlines right now, and certainly politics, that is softening the blow of disclosure, where this is not the headline that it would be in a non-pandemic year, right?
I have definitely wondered that. Because a lot of the UFO news headlines that we've gotten over the last several years, I think there would have been bombshells in prior years. But I don't know if COVID really is the key factor here, because a lot of big headlines occurred in 2017, 2018, 2019. Big articles. You know, the New York Times article on the USS Roosevelt was from the spring of 2019. Before we had Lue Elizondo drops a bombshell on Tucker Carlson on May 31st, 2019, saying, yeah, we've had crash retrievals. No media follow-up.
None.
There was no COVID. I mean, it's a hell of a statement. So I attribute the lack of follow-up to media control. Because I think I attribute it to the fact that the establishment, the true power elite, still has predominant control over the establishment media. And they're still not actively promoting this narrative of UFOs.
Well,
if anything, they're downplaying it.
I asked Ralph Blumenthal about that a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
and I said, Ralph, look, man, in your last article with Leslie, and you buried in that article down at the bottom, Eric Davis says, hey, I told the Senate we've got flying saucers, right?
Yeah, that should have been the leader,
right? And I said,
That's
Ralph,
the lead.
Where's the responsible journalism there? Why aren't there hundreds of journalists around the world picking up on that paragraph and knocking on Eric Davis's front door? Why isn't that the biggest headline in the history of mankind?
What did he say?
He said, we buried it on purpose.
Exactly.
That's what he said. He said, it wasn't my editorial call.
They had to.
He said, if we would have put that at the top of the article, then the article needs to be about crash flying saucers. You put it down at the bottom, and the article is now not about crash flying saucers.
Well, he's also being a little cagey there, because the fact is, he and Leslie Kean are both UFO believers. We all know it.
Yep.
And we also know with that particular article, you're talking July 2020.
Yep.
They had a lot of information, and they could not get that in that article. We can say this now. They were really cagey about it when it happened. They didn't want to talk about it, but the hell with it. That's the fact. They had a lot of info for that article, and it did not get into the New York Times. Guess why? Do you think it was Leslie and Ralph? No. They're leadership of the New York Times. So the fact is, what that means to me is that it's not that when the articles came out in 2017 and then 2019, that's not that the New York Times had some change of heart. No. That's two journalists, Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal, who fought to get those articles in there, and they still had to fight an establishment that made them put a lot of skeptical nonsense in all of those articles. That was not their desire. I'm certain of it. So that's Ralph being very diplomatic, saying to you, yeah, like we can only put so much into that without getting our knuckles slapped.
I asked Ralph, and I had to take the opportunity to ask some very, very, very direct questions. And one of them was this: you can't have a paragraph like that in there without vetting the paragraph, the quote. He said, exactly. I said, well, was it vetted? He said, of course it was. And I said, well, how do you vet a direct source with a statement like that? You know, the source being Eric. This is not, this is not third hand, right? Your source is named right there.
Yeah.
How do you vet that? Are you going to Eric and saying, where'd you get the information from? Right.
Yeah. Who are the people you vetted, who you spoke to?
So are you going to ask me what Ralph said?
I would love to know. We're dying here.
He said, of course he answered the questions that satisfied them to allow that quote to be in the article.
Yeah.
And that's pretty scary. That's pretty scary. And I don't understand the lack of follow-up. I mean, Richard, let's...
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
No, not with the New York Times. Like with any journal, where is Drudge? Where is anybody? Where's Tyler Rogaway? Where's anybody out there that would turn around, or the Washington Post, or the Examiner, or the New York Post?
Because we all know how honest and open the Washington Post is. Their owner does cloud computing for the 3-letter agencies.
Come on, you don't got to call me out like that. You know what I'm saying? There's got to be some intrepid, gumshoe, salt of the earth journalist that's going to go, wait a minute here. The United States government has crashed flying saucers.
There were people in the UFO, and researchers, independent people who have tiny little audiences, they were writing about it. But for large scale major media, we have to look at the specific ones and who owns these organizations. All comes down to who owns them, I would say. So that gives the answer.
So you weren't surprised that there wasn't investigation into that statement? And
10 years ago, I would have been shocked that there wouldn't have been. 10 years ago, I would have absolutely expected genuine follow-up. Yes. But now, no, I don't, because I think that it's a much more highly controlled major media system.
Are you in communication with Dr. Davis?
I have, not directly. I have one individual that will go back and forth with me. But I don't know. Davis does not want to communicate with me. I'm told he likes me. I like to believe that. I have a lot of respect for Eric Davis.
I
don't communicate with him. I wish I did. I would like to.
I think I had one email exchange with him a couple of years ago, and he was very open to coming on to Fade to Black. That was back then.
The thing now is he's in a highly sensitive aerospace situation.
Aerospace Corp.
Yeah, Aerospace Corp, exactly. One of the splitters from, I think, Hughes. And, he's working in some serious stuff, and he doesn't want to talk to people like me or probably you.
Yeah, and and I'm putting this out there into the universe right now. Should we reach out to Eric and go, dude, what did you mean by that? Is this something that you've just heard in the UFO circles, right? It's part of urban legend, and you were just repeating this willy-nilly, or where did you get this information from?
You could try. I mean, I don't think he's going to answer. If he does, then I'll know for sure he really doesn't like me, because that would just be an excuse not to talk to Dolan. But I mean, if it's true that he can't, then I think he's just not talking to people right now.
I said to Ralph, this is probably the most extraordinary sentence ever to be printed in the New York Times. This right here.
It was quite powerful. I agree with you. Very powerful. I mean, it's essentially, it's this tiny bit away from a formal admission of crash retrievals of UFOs.
That's right.
It's about as close as you can get without actually saying it.
One last, I'm going to take one more crack at you here, and I know it's getting late on the East Coast, and I appreciate this conversation. I don't want to say specifically what I'm talking about, but you are going to know, but let's keep this a little bit private, because
suitably vague.
Yeah, we are part of a certain email chain group, right? Okay. All right.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I haven't been following it lately, though. It's like it gets too crazy.
It's too crazy.
They're nutty.
And
yell and scream.
Right. But important too. That's the other part, right? And you're watching these fabled names, these respected names, going at it, man, And I jumped in on it last week, and but anyway, but there is a certain level. I'm talking age. There's a certain level of age of people that could have done more in the past, and they didn't. And now they are witnessing what is happening right now that they have nothing to do with. They have nothing to do.
When you say they could have done more in the past, I mean, what do you mean? To promote like a disclosure of UFOs?
They could have pushed more. Yes, and I firmly believe that. And I've almost wanted to jump in, Richard, on this in this group and said, you know what? What have you guys done lately? You know, you want to sit here and you want to fight and you want to complain and you want to state this as fact and what is going on. But what have you done now? And you didn't do, and right now it's getting done. And you guys had nothing to do with it. Nothing. What's happening today, you guys could have done 30 years ago. Back when you were, young and full of spunk and fight, and you guys didn't do anything back then. You did nothing. And here we are today. It's getting done, and now you guys want to fight amongst your aged selves. And I'm being very serious about this statement, Richard.
Well, someone had to do the disco dancing back then, Jimmy, so give him a little bit of break there. But, all right, in all seriousness...
I'm picturing some of those guys.
I think you're being a little harsh. It's easy to critique those earlier eras. Like, they lived through what they lived. They were in pre-internet era. How do you break UFO secrecy in the 1970s or 80s? I mean, it's not like it's an easy thing for them to do. It's not easy in any case. So I'm not sure. I don't know how fair you'd be.
No, I'm not. I'm not happy about this at all. And to watch this older group complain like an old guy walking down the street. Man, get off my lawn.
They got hemorrhoids and they've got like freaking whatever issues come up when you get that old and like it's easy to be cranky. Half their friends are dead, or more than half. I mean, let's face it, it's difficult. Getting old, who wants to do that? I'm going to be 59 in a couple of days.
I'm going to be.
I'm not excited. I'm not excited about it.
I'm going to be 58. I'm going to be 58.
Yeah, you're right on my heels.
I am.
It doesn't get. There's nice things about getting older. There are, but the body is not part of that nice thing. Like the body is not one of the fun things. So it's easy to get cranky. It's easy to be disillusioned. I don't know most of those guys personally. I wouldn't say, but I'm trying to learn compassion rather than judginess with a lot of these guys, because the thing is, we all check in, we all check out, we all have a limited amount of time on this world, and it's difficult. It's actually difficult negotiating one's way through life. So I'm more at the attitude at this point of appreciating what I get from those people rather than bitching. I'm not saying you're bitching, but then bitching about what I'm not getting from them. Because it's actually, any kind of contribution is difficult and is valuable. So, like, some of those people are brilliant. One's a brilliant physicist.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a couple of his books. They're cool books.
I do,
and
too.
They're fascinating. And
I hate fighting with them, and
I avoid the fight.
He shot me a couple of personal emails last week, and outside of the list, right, dropping some F-bombs.
Oh, seriously?
Oh, dude, right? I'm like, come on, man. And I literally
thinking, who the hell are they talking about? But some people know exactly.
Yeah. And brilliant. I mean, we're talking about high level earth-changing physics research here.
We're not mentioning names because why? We just don't want to get bitched at later.
Man, that email chain is going to light up tomorrow. No, we're going to keep it clean. We have to. But man, I feel like I've just really crossed the line here. But
I just run away from the fights. That's my strategy.
You know what? It is pure entertainment sometimes, though, when you start going through that chain and how the responses and they're flying back and forth. And I'm looking at the names of some we've mentioned tonight on the air that are part of, are part of this.
Yes, exactly.
And it's been a fun ride. Well, listen, I hope that Richard, honestly, and I say this with love, that I hope that over the next couple of weeks, you are able to say, I wrote about this in AD. I wrote about this in the past. This is how I saw it playing out, and these are great times. And I really hope you have that opportunity, and I really mean that.
Thank you, Jimmy, and I hope it happens as well. Not for myself, but because I would like to see a genuinely post-disclosure world. I really believe we're at a point in our civilization where we need something very, very big to happen to throw a monkey wrench into a direction that I can't be the only one who's terrified of the direction that this world is going. And I don't know if I see an easy way to stop it. That is a digital control system that it feels like the Borg is coming. It's like this inexorable thing. But a large-scale recognition of a lifetime's worth of lies and secrecy on something so important as UFOs, if there's anything that can wake people up to the fact that they've been lied to and that they need to get control over their system and get transparency from the government, well, I can't think of anything bigger than UFO disclosure. I don't know if that's going to be enough, frankly, and I could easily see UFO disclosure being co-opted by that very power elite for its own purposes. I can easily see that happening. But it's like the last best hope, maybe.
You bring
maybe there's others, but it's a big one.
Yeah, one of the things that I never thought, Richard, that I mean, we've all seen the movies, we've all read the books, but I never thought that there would be a reality in my brain, in our world, that if I say one wrong word, that a digital algorithm is going to seek me out from all of the information that is on this planet right now, flying around on the internet, that it's going to trigger censorship on me. And I just can't believe that's the kind of digital reality that we are in, where I have to censor my mind before I speak words.
Everyone is doing. Yes, it's terrifying. Know, in the Matrix, the first one, which is the great one, they're in the Nebuchadnezzar, the ship, and they have to watch out for the sentinels that are swimming around the sewers. Right? That's what the algorithms are. They're like the sentinels, and you've got to shut the power down. You can't let them see you.
You can't
speak. That's what our whole culture is becoming.
Yes. And the lives of private citizens in these total dictatorship-controlled societies in the past, where you had to be paranoid about your neighbors, right? They're listening. You can't play a record because a record is illegal, so you can't sit with a phonograph because if your neighbor's here, they're going to rat you out, and the police are going to be, and everybody goes to prison, right? It was like that, where you had to live in that existence of being ratted out to the man. Yeah. We are now living that today in a digital way, right?
We don't have it as bad in the U.S. I mean, it's worse here than it's ever been, but other countries, there are many countries on this planet right now that are living in not just China, a lot of Muslim countries.
Pakistan, Iran.
Yeah, digital control is total. And you really can't, there's not an easy way to break free of those methods of control. And I think it would be interesting for someone to find out what percentage of the world population is living under complete, full-blown totalitarian digital control at this point. It's probably a very high percentage.
It's a very high percentage.
We're moving. We're maybe a decade behind China. I give it 10 years. where you get the social credit. They've got a formal social credit system in. We have an informal one. Ours is private corporations, Facebook, Twitter, and all of that. That's our social credit system. And it's going to become more encoded into the law. I think we'll see that in the next few years. So, yeah, it's just bad. It's been a revolution. And honestly, I mean, I don't know what to do about it. I don't know where can one go to escape it. You duck.
Yeah.
Or you stand and fight. But this is, again, why I think disclosure is at least it's something that's in our arsenal. And it potentially could be useful.
No, we've been talking about that for so long, going back to December of 2017. That's 4 years now. It's not, I mean, I can't believe 4 years has blown past us. But 4 years ago, we were talking about the days of disclosure. It's here. We finally got here. We're here. It's the days of disclosure, December 17th, 2017. It's the historical turning point. Well, it took 4 years to get to where we are today. Is this the days of disclosure? I mean, what is different now than the New York Times in 2017?
Well, the culture has definitely gone through some changes. So in December 2017, the culture hadn't changed really. I mean, that was the opening shot. But since that time, really 3.5 years, but we can say 4. But there's been enough of a change in the establishment culture. That's really and the cut below establishment culture. Like when there's a lot of big YouTube channels now that are. It's hard to say, what their role here is, but there's a lot of smaller, lower level, mainstreamish type of people out there that are talking about UFOs. So there's definitely been a change in the culture. I don't think that's going to go back. So we're in a new place, but we could be stalled here where we are for a long time.
The one,
this place of saying there's something out there we don't know what it is. Like we could be at that forever. For a long time.
Has the significance of the media been diminished a little bit? If we think about 60 Minutes, that was just 3 weeks ago, right? That was a month ago.
Right.
The number one news program for 50 years in the United States does what they did with the UAP subject, and I'm gonna say this. I don't care who I offend. Crickets after that. Right? There wasn't any.
You're right.
Yeah. There wasn't any drama, not only in the United States, but what about worldwide? We're talking about 60 Minutes here, front
Even
and center.
the New Yorker article, which was like right before that, that was actually, I mean, for a mainstream publication, the New Yorker article on UFOs on Lockheed and Harry Reid, that was heavy duty stuff. That was actually a decent article. A lot of it was about Leslie Kean and a little bit on Mick West. But there was a lot of great information in there, and not really follow up from that either.
Yeah, or fall out, right? Or fall out. And I asked Ralph, going back to Ralph Blumenthal, I said the article in the New Yorker. I think that the New Yorker represents the Manhattan lifestyle. Right? A little highbrow, intelligentsia, educated, the Manhattan world. And that's what the New Yorker has always represented. I would
say this. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I said, how did Manhattan react? He said, you know what? I'm not sure if it represents Manhattan anymore. The New Yorker is more of a worldwide online publication now. And I'm not sure how many people in Manhattan consider it their magazine today.
One thing I'd like to know, and I don't really have the answer to this, maybe you do, or maybe someone listening does, the ownership of the New Yorker in general, I'm sure that someone can Google this really quickly, and how independent was the New Yorker's decision in publishing that article? In other words, was this a renegade or an actual independent decision that was made that was not part of the establishment? that was not part of the agenda of the truly controlled establishment media. Was this a genuinely independent thing? And same with 60 Minutes. Is it possible that they were engaging in genuinely independent, that someone in those organizations fought to get those things in there? And if that's the case, that would explain the lack of response. Condé Nast. Yeah, so they're huge. That's a big...
They own Vogue, Vanity Fair, and about 500 other publications.
Yeah, so you figured someone had to be part of something big. But still the question is, what was the backstory of how that article and why it got published? Like, I don't know that story.
Well,
I would like to know.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm suggesting here is with all of the media pushes, like the New Yorker, you've got to go the Examiner and Washington Examiner, 60 Minutes, Tucker Carlson, right? The push that has been out there. I just watched an excellent interview today that happened on CNN of all places with Ralph Blumenthal. I thought it was an excellent.
He was
interview.
On CNN.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with the massive amount of media that has been pushing this out there, there's been no anarchy, right?
Carlson's been amazing over at Fox. The guy is incredible with UFOs, in my view.
And
For
nobody's
a mainstream journalist.
Yeah, nobody's jumped off any buildings, Richard.
No, and it's true. Like the follow-up has been very muted to all of these big articles. I've got a list in front of me here now. I just pulled it up. Like about 20 major headline articles on UFOs over the last 3.5 years. Like big, any one of which a decade ago would have been, wow, massive news. And we've got about 20 that I've got here in front of me from the end of 2017. And I mean, there's been a cumulative effect, so it hasn't been for nothing. But my goodness, like I would have just thought more that would have happened, but it has not.
Richard, thank you so much, man.
Oh, lots of fun.
Man, we blew through a commercial break, and it's getting late out there. Thank you so much. And here we go. Tomorrow's the 24th, Friday's the 25th, and we will be having some interesting conversations this weekend.
Yeah, you're going to have to sit down and read that thing and take some notes and just more work.
Well, you're only going to have to read 12 pages, my friend. That's all you're going to get. Richard Dolan.
It's gone with the classified version. If I can get that.
So I heard the new website is called richardbleepindolanmembers.com, and congratulations on securing that domain. Richard, thank you so much, my friend, and let's hang out on the phone this weekend, and let's see where this takes us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thanks to your awesome listeners.
You're the best, Richard. Thank you so much. And I did blow through a commercial break, so I'm going to squeeze in a commercial right now so I can pay the bills. Thank you so much, Richard. Again, richarddolanmembers.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. And in case anybody noticed, I snuck in overtime. Yeah, I was a little sleazy about it, but I had to do it. I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right. I want to thank Richard Dolan for coming in tonight. That was a full 2.5 hours and no commercial break. That last 2 segments, an extraordinary conversation. And we are, right now, we are on the eve of the possibility of this report being released tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 24th. Anybody listening to me right now knows that tonight is June 23rd. So tomorrow's the 24th. The 25th is Friday. Oh, man, it's going to be crazy. It's absolutely going to be crazy. So let's enjoy the moment. Let's see what's going to happen, and we will obviously be poring over this report with a fine-tuned comb, and I can't wait to read it. Tomorrow night is Fader night, so if the report releases tomorrow, first off, I'm going to go live in the morning if it does bust out. But if it releases tomorrow night's Fader night. It's open lines all night long. And we will have an awful lot to talk about. And if it doesn't release tomorrow, we've still got an awful lot to talk about. It's one of the most amazing weeks ever, and I'm spending it with all of you. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun. Let's ride this out together. Fade to Black's executive producers Rita Camarion. Shows produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2021 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black of the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night is Fader night. Tonight's the 23rd. Tomorrow's the 24th. Until tomorrow night, I want everybody to be safe. It's time to fade to black.